Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back. It's the first day of fall. So it's
Is it
just that
really?
time. It is the first day of fall and
I thought it was the
hockey is in the
21st.
air. No, it's
No,
today.
it's
It's
today.
today.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
today. Yeah, first day of fall for us. Yeah, it's beautiful day here, September 22nd. Hockey is officially back. We got
Yeah.
baseball playoffs around the corner. We had some football
I
games
just forgot.
yesterday.
That's like we're in the last week of the baseball season,
Last
aren't
week
we?
of baseball, my Blue Jays clinched a playoff berth yesterday and are trying to cling on to the AL East. You want to hear some good news though? Actually,
Trying to cling on. Yeah.
so you'll like this. Actually,
Yep.
CFL Canadian Football League Commissioner is going to make a major announcement today, at 1 o'clock Eastern.
So in about 45 minutes is what
We're
I'm hearing.
gonna, I don't know. Now, like you
We,
wonder, it's
should
like,
we
oh,
stay
major
on? Should we
announcement.
stay on and talk about it?
No.
No, I know. We have a short. Today's a short episode today, folks, because we don't have a whole
Yeah.
lot to
I'm curious
talk
what he's
about.
gonna say, but I'm excited to see because I really want. It's funny, like I'm not a big baseball guy, but the
Uh-huh.
last month or so, I've been like, man, these Jays are playing well, and then they crapped the bed the other day, losing 20-1 thanks to Max Scherzer.
Well, wasn't that the day after they clinched?
No, so they clinched yesterday. They won
They clinched
yesterday and
yesterday.
clinched,
Okay, it was yesterday.
but like so. The formula is with 6 to 8 games to go. They have a 2-game lead on the Yankees, but it's 3 because of the tiebreaker. They hold the tiebreaker.
Right, and
So
yeah.
4 games, and if they win their last four of their last 6 games, they clinch the AL East, and there's nothing the Yankees can do about it. And the
Sure.
Yankees would also have to go 6-0 here to win the division, and then the
Yeah,
Jays
and
would have to
that's
like fall off.
right. So I
So
think I would say it's most likely the Blue Jays are going to win the division and probably get that bye. And I think the Yankees are going to end up playing the Red Sox in the wild card round, which I mean for baseball
that's
people,
huge.
like that's great.
It's
Like,
huge.
right.
Yeah,
But it's interesting. So like so if I'm
bro, those
reading
Mariners
this,
scare me, man. Those Seattle Mariners are so scary.
eh, no,
I'm
this is
scared of
just
them.
every year for them. So I'm reading the schedule correctly. The Blue Jays have a 3-game set starting tomorrow at home against the Red Sox, and then a
Yep.
3-game series at home against Tampa.
Yep.
So those are 2 winnable series. I would worry a little bit about the Red Sox series, only because the Red Sox, I think, are still trying to maybe find a way to
They have to clinch.
pass
They're
the
not.
Yankees. Right.
Yeah, they haven't even clinched
Because
yet. They're only a game up or two on the team on the outside looking in, which is the
oh yeah.
Astros. I think right now they're not even in a playoff spot anymore.
The Astros right now are it's funny. It seems like every other day they're back in first place or then they get passed again.
Yeah,
The Yankees, and then for people here really quickly, the Yankees have the White Sox
I know. And then the
at
Orioles.
home and then
Yeah.
they have the Orioles at home. So
So like I don't see them going 6-0. So
the
that's my
Yankee I
only
see them
hat to hang
going
on
like
there.
either 5-1 or 4-2
Sure.
down the
So
stretch. Just because the Yankees are always due in every series to have like a shit game where they just like
blow it up.
don't put up any runs and I think for everybody it's like it's this is such a weird week, but I think it's good that so many teams have not clinched yet because you enter
It's
into
exciting.
playoff mode. No, you enter into playoff mode already.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, all right, now we gotta like, we
Time to
gotta
go.
lock in here. Every game is a must win, this, that, and the other thing. I think the real interesting part, Kyle, is this, and this will be the last baseball thing I'll mention, is the NL wild card is fascinating.
Oh, it is.
Have the Mets, the Reds, San Francisco, Arizona's
It's
still
close.
in it. They're all within a game or two of
It'll
each
come
other.
down to the last day in that one.
Maybe we'll have
For sure.
a game 163 like we did like 10 years ago.
Maybe. So we go from talking about playoffs to now talking about preseason because that's it officially got underway for our Flames yesterday as they had a split squad game against the Oilers, and some good and bad
Yeah,
came out of it. It's not necessarily about the wins and losses here. Just more about looking at the players. And I thought what was interesting, the one intriguing storyline for me going into the split squad game yesterday was the fact that they put Matt Begradine on the top line or on the top power play unit as
yeah,
well too to see how he was going to fare. And he had some good moments. He didn't have a great moment when he backhanded it into the middle of the ice and fed it to one of the Oilers players for the second goal of the night, which wasn't
yeah.
great. I thought that was stupid on his part, but whatever. I mean, like if you look at the Dome here for a second, and then we'll talk about the one in Edmonton, the one in the Dome where they lost 3-0. Devin Cooley was in net. Yeah, it wasn't that great considering that Gradine had the ugly turnover. You can't really put that on Cooley. That's all on Gradine. Like, you can't be like, it's young rookie mistakes. Rookies are going to make
Right.
here in these games, and you're supposed to, right? So I think the three guys that I looked at were Suniev, Hanzik, and Gradine, where all of them had good moments, but all of them did have bad moments too. So Gradine
Right.
over, Hanzik had a tough time there in terms of just kind of getting through the neutral zone, and Suniev just had a tough time setting up offensively, just overall. So everyone
Hmm.
had their good and bad moments at the Dome yesterday. I like the lineup pairings though, just to see like some of these younger guys get a chance. And I thought Devin Cooley was okay. Like he did turn away 29 shots. 26 of the 29 shots that were taken. Um,
Hmm.
Two of the like one of them I'm not really going to put on him, but other than that, I thought he was fine. Didn't really create a lot of things offensively. And then the other side of the coin, where the guys were all the way up in Edmonton there. Morgan Frost put on a show. He had 2 goals last night, so he looked good. I thought Battaglia looked pretty good last night too. Kuznetsov, I thought was a bit of he was okay. And then the one name we forgot about too, actually, in the Dome was Zane Parekh, who looked so comfortable
Oh
last
yeah.
night. And he was setting up, despite losing 3-0, he was setting up some really good chances for our guys to score. And
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting to watch going forward. Is Parek's your quarterback on the power play and a lot of 5-on-5 chances where he's able to move,
Hmm.
not necessarily at the blue line, but he's able to go down in the corner and create some plays. And, now you just need to find guys who are able to put it in the back of the net. So,
Yeah.
maybe you stick him out there a lot with Coronado to see what that can be capable of, or Zari, or however that's going to work. But, yeah, overall, I mean, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of good things to take away, a lot of bad things to kind of take away there. So those were my kind of 2 cents. But Neil, what was your overall takeaway from the split squad games yesterday?
I think the biggest thing that I kind of took away was the difference between the pipes. You mentioned Devin Cooley playing in the Dome, and then Perceptov was in net for the Flames in the win
In Edmonton.
over Edmonton in Edmonton, and I thought he actually played really well. I didn't think Devin Cooley played poorly in the 3-0 loss, but I think there were a couple times where he was a bit out of position and he looked a little bit more shaky. And I know that that's kind of one of the things we were talking about in terms of like the question marks going into training camp was like who's going to end up truly being the number 2 guy behind Wolf. And I think obviously Devin Cooley would have liked to have had a bit of a better performance overall, but I think still 26 of 20. What did he give up? Did he give up all 3 goals? I'm trying to remember.
He did. All 3
He
goals
did,
were given
yeah.
up.
So
Yeah.
26 of 29. That's still not terrible. I don't think he got a whole lot of support in front of him, but nonetheless, I think that was something that stood out to me. I do agree that I think Kuznetsov could have been a bit more aggressive. I don't really. He was just kind of there in a
Mhm.
lot of situations, but I think Morgan Frost definitely, he put on a show and he was very impressive. If he can translate that into the regular season, that's going to go a long way in terms of depth scoring and just being able to have that extra oomph of offense going to. And it's another, kind of prove it year for Morgan Frost, right? This is his first full season now in Calgary after coming over from Philadelphia. And it's like, kind of time to really show like, are you going to be a part of this team long term? Are you going to be like one of those guys that we can count on to help provide there? I think one guy, though, he didn't get on the score sheet, but you know who I thought played well in the game in Edmonton? Adam Klapka. I thought Klapka actually
Klapka
had a
played well.
very solid game. And I
Yep.
really do think, Kyle, I think he has a legitimate shot of maybe potentially stealing a roster spot this year. It might be tougher for him, might be a little bit of an uphill climb.
I think Klopka is probably a shoe in on that fourth line. I think he
I
had a
think
great
he
end to the
and I
year
think he
last
proved it
year.
again last night. I
Yeah.
really do. I like
Yeah.
him a lot. I've been a fan of him, since especially watching him a bunch last year. Like I think that he's ready, like full time. I think he's ready to take that next step. And I think
For
that
sure.
that's if you're Craig Conroy, this is exactly again what we were talking about. Competition, right? There's spots open. And you're getting a lot of the times you're getting the best out of these guys because they want to make that roster. And that's really what you take away. And like you mentioned, Zane Parekh, I mean, I would be really surprised, Kyle, if he's not on this team come opening day because he
Yeah.
looked like he had been there for years. He looked like nothing was bugging him. He looked great.
They kept pairing him up with Jake Bean, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting. Like, they continue to pair him up, which isn't necessarily great for Braden Pahal. right? They don't really like. I mean, they want to like he is kind of your stay-at-home defenseman there with Jake Bean, so I kind of
Sure.
understand that, and you wanted to see more of an offensive output there from Parak. Um, yeah, like I would imagine like it throws a wrench in though a little bit because it does kind of force Braden Bahal to kind of fight for a roster spot all of a sudden. They did. The weird thing is they signed him to an extension last year too.
Hmm.
So I believe it was a 2-year deal that they signed him to an extension. So you wonder like, does Parekh find a way on it? Does he replace it over a guy like Jake Bean? And are you willing to put a guy like Zane just sitting there in the bottom 5-6 slot there on defense and not really give him a top 4 role? Because I don't
Sure.
think that's like, I just don't think that that's going to complement necessarily well. Like, if I'm putting Zane up there, like I want to put him with the best, like I want to put
I
him there with
agree.
Mackenzie Weegar. I want to put him up there, even with Anderson being short term. Like I want to see him up there with those guys. But again, the problem is that you got Anderson and Weegar who are right shot defensemen, and so is Parak. So he kind of slides into that third line role there with a guy like Jake Bean. So the only good thing about it is, if you do have a chance to put Parekh there, is that you're probably going to go up against other teams' bottom 6 as well too.
Right.
So to have him there against guys in the bottom 6 might help his game moving forward a little bit, because if he's NHL ready, he's going to get a lot of matchups with a lot of guys in the bottom 6 that maybe he can expose, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So
Right.
it's going to be fascinating to watch, because you wonder, you sign Pahal to an extension. That's kind of a battle there all of a sudden to figure out, like, is
Hmm.
Parekh really ready to make that next step? So, yeah, with Parekh, it's going to be interesting to watch in the training camp moving forward.
I think the one thing I would say looking at that pairing is that I kind of wonder to myself if the Flames are trying to ease Parekh into playing, right into the NHL and pairing him with Jake Bean on that pairing. Because I've seen it before where like you have a hyped up prospect, and a lot of times teams are afraid to just throw them right in the fire and
Mhm.
immediately try to get them to produce because you worry about hurting the kid's confidence. I get it. But it's still, even though it is preseason, I still think like Parekh looked like he could have played more minutes. He could have been higher up on the pairings, and he could have still played well. Maybe we'll see that more later in this preseason, but like that's kind of the thing I took away from that. And
Mhm.
then with Bahal, I mean, yeah, it's you you sign to a multi-year deal, but then it seems like you're kind of putting him more in a position where it's like he's like on a 1-year deal where it's like, hey, you got to prove it or like
Mhm.
you're out kind of thing. And I think that I don't want to say it's like it's an unfair thing. I think it just again kind of goes off of what Craig Conroy was saying about creating competition, that nobody's job is fully safe,
Mhm.
unless you're Dustin Wolf, which then your job is, I think, fairly
Yeah, and
certain in
don't
terms of
forget,
that.
and also don't forget too, like they did have an actual NHL game on Game 82 where Parekh made his debut, Sam Morton made his debut, and Brucevich also made his debut that night in LA, and they all played very well despite it being a nothing game. And it was the same thing for the Kings, where
Right.
they had a somewhat full roster, but they were getting ready for the postseason. So like it was still valuable playing time for them. So they got that experience a little bit, and they're going to continue to get it more and more. I think the question is that I'll throw back to you is that, is it more of surprise if he does make the roster, or would it be more of a surprise if he doesn't make the roster?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think it would be more surprised if he didn't make the roster because of just the fact of like where I feel like the Flames value him.
Mhm.
Um, I think it would surprise me, but it would be one of those situations where somebody else had to have played better than he did and had to have shown. Like that's how I look at it with a lot of guys, especially the guys that surprisingly make the roster that maybe we didn't expect and we're like, why? How did this person? And you say, well,
Right.
it's because they came into training camp and they kind of stepped up right away, whereas the other guy maybe didn't perform as best. So that's kind of the way that I look at it here is that if somebody else steps up the rest of the way and just performs better at the same position that he's at, then I can see where like he would not make the roster. But if it's just because they want him to have like more seasoning, I don't know. I wouldn't be totally for that. Like there
Yeah,
has to be, to me, there has to be a legitimate reason why he doesn't make the roster.
sure.
That's how I look at it.
I can kind of see a world where he makes it and he plays alongside Bean, and Pahal probably is that seventh D man all of a sudden, which is surprising to say, but it's a possibility. And you go through the first 4 months here, and that's kind of what it looks like. And
Mhm.
then it turns into you find a deal for Anderson, he's out the door, and now he incorporates himself into that top four pairing where Paul slides into that sixth slot. And you're going to
Exactly.
have Parekh sitting there with either Kevin Ball or Joel Hamley. And I believe it would probably be Kevin Ball at that point. So I can kind of envision it going that way for the Flames defense.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it might happen sooner, especially if an Anderson deal happens before. Like, again, we don't know when that trade is going to happen. We know
Sure.
it's going to happen. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's more of now, when is that going to happen? And right now, nobody's making deals with anybody. And
No,
it
you won't
feels,
hear anything. Yeah,
right.
it's not going to be until probably December, January that you're not going to see
Yeah, I would
something.
say that's the earliest. And
Yeah.
don't be surprised. And I think this is general in the NHL with the Olympics coming up this year. Don't be surprised if a lot of trades happen right before that
Yep. Yeah,
happens,
that's a good
because
point.
I think a lot of teams are going to want to establish things and get new guys who are
When
going to
they
be
come
on the
back.
team acclimated while the Olympics are going on. So that's the way that I kind of look at it with
With the
that.
deadline being on March 6th, too. But going
Exactly.
back to just real quick, like with the split squad stuff, I really, really am fascinated to see more of. I want to see more of with the training, with the preseason games coming up here with Brushewitz. I want to see more of, um, and I also want to see a little bit more Sam Morton. I don't think he would really
Mm,
show. I saw a lot of Suniev last night. I saw a lot of Honzek who did have some good moments, but that's a guy I expect to play better as training
mhm.
camp and preseason goes along. I expect Honzek to be better considering he put on 15 pounds of weight and he wants to be that bigger presence and to kind of take into that center role position. So I'm curious to see kind of how these youngsters, like, again, you're going to continue making mistakes. And then you
Right.
mentioned the goaltending battle. I think it's Provostev's battle to lose, to be honest. I think Cooley,
Especially
like,
after last night. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, and again, I'm not really saying I'm putting it on Cooley, but I think they brought in Provostev for the purpose of him being the backup goaltender.
Mhm.
And again, you're probably getting 20 games, give or take.
Yeah. 2025, I think, is a fair range.
Yeah.
So,
So that does bring us, because we didn't necessarily talk about this at all. Um, but it happened last week.
yeah, it did. What did
And
happen the day after we did an episode?
I think it was
I
like
think?
2 days afterwards, something
Of
like
course it
that.
did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's
Mm.
we're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
we're gonna get into it. Let's take a bit of a break here, real quick.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick ad read, and then we'll come back
Sure.
on the other side. We'll
Let's do
talk
it.
about our favorite captain, and then we'll discuss all the fun things that go along with that. But it is
Mhm.
your season and your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Pick Six. I totally have the wrong one up. Well, football is back, so that's a good thing. And so is your shot at big wins with Pick Six at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play: just pick more or less or two players up from the player stats, from breakout rookies to elite quarterbacks, and unlock the upside from every snap that brings. And the better your calls, the bigger the payout. We're not going to talk about that Giants game last night. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first Pick Six set. The season player, pick your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for just $5 to get $50 in Pick Six bonus picks. You can make the call, ride the upside. It's in partnership with DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. And must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions required. All right.
Boom.
So we did see it last week. And I've got both sides to this, because my wave of emotions went from here to here, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. But
Yeah.
Neil broke it to me last week before I even got a chance to see it on the news. The captain is back on a 2-year extension at a $6.5 million deal. That works out to be, I believe, a $3.25 million extension for Michael Backlund here. Just some quick tidbits on him. He has served his entire 17-year career in Calgary. His deal begins after this year. So discuss it a little bit more here as well. Craig Conroy and Michael Backlund apparently 3 weeks ago already had something in place, and quote it, "We love Calgary and this is our home. We're really proud to get to represent the team for 3 more years and be a part of the new arena and part of the leadership group that's going to hopefully push this team in the right direction." So we're super excited. Once we got back from Sweden, this was from Backlund, he made a casual call with Conroy if they can believe to get it done. And one day after practice, he called him and told him, "I want to stay," and he wants to get it done. So last year, he did have 15 goals and 17 assists for the Flames for the 36-year-old. He is entering the last year of his 2-year deal at $9 million at a $4.5 million AAV, which he signed back in September of 2023. So again, he's played his entire 17-year career. He's currently second in games. He will probably eventually pass Jerome McGinley at some point in games. He is 7th in points, 6th in goals, believe it or not. And he's also he's second in the shorthanded goals department with 18 and 41 in shorthanded points. So I'm going to kick it off here. So I love the image of, like, if you can't see it, for those of you not listening and seeing, the unicorn on the bottom right. Hilarious. It's just weird to look at.
But really quickly, Kyle, I just want to mention just a little bit of a roster update for the Flames. They just announced this about 15 minutes ago. Calgary's returned defenseman Maceo Phillips to his junior club in the USHL with the Green Bay Gamblers. Just thought I'd mention that really quickly. It's not really that big of news, but just thought I'd mention it.
It's important. So, and I'm sorry to be a pronunciation nerd here. Mako Phillips is how it's pronounced.
Mako Phillips. Sorry.
Mako.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So Mako's going back to his junior club there in the Green Bay Gamblers. So that was the Flames' 4th round draft pick in this year's draft. I believe he played 2 games. He played the prospects game, and then he also played last night's preseason game. I can't remember where he was. I believe he was in Edmonton last night, if I'm not mistaken. But that one, it didn't surprise me that he's going to go back and he's going to end up.
He's incredibly young. Like, he wasn't going to be around for. I think
that's what happens with a lot of these drafts. Yeah,
give him a taste, and then especially because I think the USHL season kicks off this week, or
I believe it is this week for the USHL. Yeah. You bet. So Mako Phillips, Flames draft pick, is going back to his junior club. That was just announced 15 minutes ago from Flames X, Twitter, whatever.
Back to the good stuff.
Okay.
Here we go. All right, I'm gonna sit back and just watch this.
It was funny. Like, last week when you messaged this, I was like cursing in my car. It was brutal. I was like, why would Craig do this? It was stupid, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Looking at it further and just taking some time and looking at it, this is not a hockey signing. It isn't. It's a relationship signing, right? And Backlund's going to get a chance in his last year of this deal. He's going to get a chance to see the new arena, be a part of the team for the first year of that new arena when it's built. I think it also speaks volumes that when you looked at the reaction from the guys on socials, they really admire him and they really want him to be this captain, right? My problem with this was I didn't have a problem with a 1-year extension. I have a problem with 2.
Mm-hmm.
I get, I understand wanting to see him in the new arena, but at what point do you move on, right? Now, the caveat to this is that the center position is so light right now with the Flames that they actually need him more, unless you start to see in the next year or two a guy like Sam Honzik, for example, or Reshny, who could be ready for when the new arena comes. You're going to see some of these guys come in and they want to be able to step into that role when it's all said and done for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be 30. I believe he's going to turn 37 this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of outrage on Flames Twitter, X, whatever. Understandably so. I was one of those people. I didn't understand the 2 years. I understood the 1 year, maybe going into next year. and you're denying him the opportunity of not seeing the new arena in the last year of this deal, right? If I had it my way and I would just extend him one more year. The big issue that I have with this is you're going into the season not knowing what his production output is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And at what point, as an organization for Craig Conroy, are you more or less looking to win? Why are you? I get the 17 years of service. I understand all that, but you don't owe him anything. Not really. The
Yeah.
guy is, it's been a good standing relationship for 17 years, but at what point do you have to tell yourself it's time to move on? There's got to be where's the line in the middle to say that we've got to move on from this? So I understand it's a loyalty factor. It's a loyalty signing. I get it. And their center position is pretty ridiculous. But I would be okay with this if we went into the year and his production matched what he did last year. 15 goals and 17 assists was what he had
Yeah.
last year. If he's able to match that, I can sit back and go, all right, maybe he does deserve it, because then it'll allow these guys to be ready for when the new arena comes in, when they truly want to compete and be ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're running the risk of these next 2 years. Like, what if this production all of a sudden falls off? Like, he's going to be a good fourth line center, like, which is what you want and which is where he's going to be, right? But outside of him being that locker room presence as the leader, you have to be a leader on and off the ice,
Yeah.
and I see it off the ice. It's just when the time that this deal is done, like, is it going to be time to give the reins to a guy like Mackenzie Weegar?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's good and bad to take away from this. I'm more like, I didn't understand the rush from it,
Right.
right? And Backlund, with the quotes that you read here, he kind of put the pressure on Conroy a little bit, saying, "Hey, like, I really want to get this done." He called him twice in the
Yeah.
past couple of weeks, saying that he wants to get this done. And Conroy basically said, "All right, let's do it." And it didn't take them long to do a 2-year extension.
Right.
So I don't like it in the sense that I don't know what he's going to be this year, because if
Yeah.
if he comes out and has, he plays 70 games and he has 5 goals, well, okay, like, the money I don't really care about. It's the fact that, this is a guy who's going to be on your fourth line, maybe even third line, depending on, barring injuries, that you're not going to get a lot of production out of him in those 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I was okay for the 1 year. But, like, is that the product you really want to put on the ice when this new arena comes into play? Or is it sort of a new regime that you want to showcase when the new arena comes, that we're ready to compete now?
Yeah.
So you're doing him the service. I get it. But are you like that? That just tells me more that I get the loyalty part of it. But at what point do you care about moving this team forward?
Yeah.
So I listen, and maybe in the last year of his deal, they decide to move on from him. I don't know. He probably won't play the whole year if he wants to go win a cup somewhere else. So he might play half the year with the team. But it just bothers me that Backlund lets a guy like Conroy have this much influence when we haven't even seen his production yet this year. And I love Backlund. I've got nothing against Backlund. Love the fact he's been here for 17 years. I've loved every year that Backlund's been here, and I'm going to love him for the next 3 years now. That won't change, and I know for fans it won't change either. But at what point do you start caring about the fact that you want to move this team forward?
Right.
So I like it for 2 years. I really don't like it for the third. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for his family. I'm really happy that he's sticking around in Calgary, and I like the fact that he got an extension. Ultimately, I just don't like the fact that it's 2 years and not one. So it's a long rant. It's silly. At the end of the day, is it gonna matter? Maybe not, right? Maybe in the grand scheme of things, it was a good move to keep a veteran like this along in the locker room, and a guy that Flames fans and players that are young really respect, because he's been here for 17 years and he's a guy that they can look up to. So, maybe I'm wrong by the end of this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just not liking the last year of that deal. And, they give him a chance to play in the new arena. I get it. But you haven't even seen his production yet this year. And if it falls off, like it's going to be a bad year for Backlund, Well, now you got him sticking. Now you have to stick him around for the next 2 years because you can't can him because it's going to hurt your reputation. Because what's that going to say to you all of a
Yeah.
sudden as a representative of the organization? So
Mhm.
that's my rant. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
Couple things I just want to mention. The 5 years between 2015 and 16 and 2019-20, Backlund was averaging, give or take, about 45, 46 points a year,
Which was great.
which is great, right? But then you go from 2021 season to 24-25 to last season. This
2020
is
with the shortened season, by the way.
correct. Yes. It was only 54 games, but still, his point totals were 32, 39, 56 in 22-23, but then 39 and then 32 last year.
Sure.
It's already obvious that his skills are declining because, again, Father Time is undefeated in many regards.
But the 30-point average, though, like the fact that he's still able to get over 30 points is good.
Sure.
Does it go below 30 this year? Like, is
Right.
that
Well,
what's going to happen?
and that's the thing, right? If you extended him another year and he has this year and next year, okay, you can fine. Because then, yes, even if he has a bad year and drops points this year, then you have only 1 year left, and you could say to yourself, do we want to, continue this or anything? I think that what this was, and you touched on it in many ways, is that this was a loyalty signing. This was not, like you said, this is not a hockey signing. This is not a keeping a guy around because it is necessary kind of thing. It's the fact that you're rewarding someone who, yes, has been nothing but incredibly loyal to Calgary and the Flames organization his entire 17-year career. That nothing will be taken away from that. Nothing. But at what point do you decide, as you said, at what point do you decide that it's no longer about keeping good relationships? It's about taking the next step and getting to a point where you want to be a successful team. You're not going to do that if you're shagging out $6.5 million over 2 years to a guy who's going to be nearly in his 40s by the time this contract comes up.
But I don't even think it's about the money.
Right.
It's not the money for me because like with the cap going up, that it's
right,
virtually going to be nothing.
But still, at the same time, I think that you could use that money more wisely, even with the cap going up. I think that's the way I'm trying. But you're also, as you said, you're taking away a roster spot from a young guy that's trying to get up here in the NHL and trying to make his mark.
Yeah.
Because you have the captain of the team that's still playing. And again, you're taking a big risk this year. You're taking a big risk because you don't know what you're going to see out of Backlund this year. And look, Backlund could prove us all wrong. He might turn back the clock and put up another 40 some odd points this year. And if he does that, that's fantastic because that's going to help this team ultimately become more of a competitive team.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, though, at someone his age, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And at some point it's gonna be an issue. It's gonna be more of a, how are you gonna kind of go about this? And again, like you said, it's nothing against Michael Backlund at all. Good for him that he was able to basically negotiate a situation where he now has 3 years left on a contract as opposed to, just one. I think Conroy would have been better off telling Backlund, look, let's see how this year goes. Before we talk about any of this, let's see how it goes. And then even at the midway point of the season, we can come back and discuss, right? And I think it's likely that Backlund, I could be wrong because I don't know what the projections are. I think it's likely that we might see Backlund play for Sweden in the Olympics this year, potentially. It's going to be depending on a lot of different things. It's possible.
You think he makes the team? You think he makes Sweden?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know how deep we're talking here in that roster. I mean, there's a lot of younger guys coming up, especially in that center position.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know if he makes. I don't know. I'd have to see the roster.
Did he play in the Four Nations?
I believe he did play. Yeah, he did. He did play Four Nations. Yeah,
I think he was the third or fourth.
Yeah,
line
I think he played Four Nations. I know Anderson did actually.
And I'm not saying it's going to be interesting, but that's a discussion for another time because we got a lot of time before that and that. But I think Yeah, like you and I had talked about it last week we were talking about Backlund and we were basically saying that like if he gets a 1 year deal, if it was like 1 year at 3.5, I'm fine with it. We would not be having a long-winded discussion about this, but because
He did play Four Nations, just FYI. Yeah,
he did or did not.
he did. Yeah,
He did. That's what I
yeah, he
thought.
played.
Um, I just don't see a world where this made a whole lot of hockey sense. And like you said, it's just more of a loyalty thing. It's a let's reward him for all of his service. If
Yeah,
you're giving him 1 more year after this, sure, I think that's a reward in itself. But the
yeah.
fact that you gave him 2 years, I think you're slowing down the development of some other guys that are going to be trying to fight for roster spots moving forward and being a part of this future of trying to compete, especially with the new arena and things like that. So I'm with you on this, where it's like 2 years just is one too much for me in terms of an extension for a guy like that.
Yeah, I think like I honestly believe next year he's going to be on the fourth line with Blake Coleman.
Right.
I know it's like so far in advance, but if we're looking at this, just looking at the contract, like what if in the after this first year of his new deal is done, so after the
Mhm.
2026-2027 season, what if all of a sudden, hell, maybe even next year, what if Hansik's ready to go? What if Reshny, after 2 years now, starting this year, is ready to go? What if
Mhm.
some of these younger centers, what if Rory Kieran's all of a sudden takes a massive leap in the AHL and he leads the league in points? What if he's ready to go?
Great
Like
question.
what if if Klapka has a really great start to the year, does he even belong on the fourth line? I don't think so. At some
Mhm.
point, he's gonna be a four. Yeah, like for me, like I've always liked the idea and the identity of the fourth line to be like a rough him up, like, tough guy fourth line. That's just my mentality. And whether it's right or wrong, like you have to go with the identity of your team a little bit, because I
Sure.
know with the mentality last year, or at least with the offense, is that they were rolling all four lines and there was no 1, 2, 3, 4, right? They were
Mhm.
rolling all four and they wanted to see what worked. So,
Mhm.
like to me, he ends up on the fourth line next year. I can see him like this year, like he's gonna play another year with Coleman on the third line, and I don't have a problem with that. But I think like the only way this works is that he plays on this fourth line with Blake Coleman and whoever they want to put on the left side. I don't even know if Lomberg's going to be there because his contract ends this year. So that's why, like, yes, like I want to sign Backlund. I want to see how it goes, maybe do a 1 year extension or whatnot. But I don't know what I'm getting from him this year. You know what
Mhm.
you're getting from him in the past, but I just want to see what I'm getting, right? And if he
Right.
just belongs on the fourth line, then fine. Like it's okay to put him on the fourth line because at least he can match up with some of these other fourth liners really well. And he's gonna be sitting that back there with Blake Coleman and whoever they're on
Mhm.
the left wing. So the identity, and again, this is looking really far in advance here into next year, right? If we're looking ahead at this contract, that tells me that there's going to be a whole new makeup on that third line
Mhm.
because you're going to have Morgan Frost sitting on the second line center if it all works out that way. And if Kadri's still on the top line center next year, right? That just tells me that third line is going to have an entirely new makeup, whether it's Sam Honzik there, whether it's going to be um, whether they want to give Connor Zari some good minutes at center, whether they want to give, if Kieran's all of a sudden decides he's playing really well, like that third line is going to have a totally different makeup next year. And curious to see what happens. And we're not even talking about free agency at this point. So again, this is stuff way in advance, but it's stuff that you do have to kind of look at, right? Which
Right.
is, I'm going to have all eyes on Backlund this year. I want to know what he does because if that production dips badly this year, people are going to have questions because at
Yeah.
what point then for Craig, the sympathy card comes out, and at what point do you start looking at it and go, yeah, you want to be competitive when that new arena opens? Does having Backlund on the fourth line benefit this team when that new arena comes out? And time will tell, right? Again, I'm not mad at Backlund. I'm like, you're going to take that deal 9 times out of 10 if you're a guy who's almost going to be 37 years old and you're going to be making $6.5 million for the next 2 years after this one. This is
Mhm.
not on Backlund, right? This is not on his family. This is not on him at
Right.
all. Love him. Love the fact that he's going to be here. And evidently, he's going to finish his career in Calgary, which is great.
Right.
And what
Mhm.
people don't realize, too, is that he's going to be up there with the all time greats, right? He's
For sure.
second in games, right? Behind, I believe, Jerome McGinley. So,
Mhm.
you know, he deserves to finish his career in Calgary, absolutely, which is why I would have been okay to extend him.
Right.
But I would have liked to see the production ultimately, is what I wanted to kind of just reiterate again. But
And again, look, the season hasn't started yet. We don't know what's truly going to happen. We can make projections all day until the cows
I
come
could be
home.
dead wrong, and
We
I could
could
be
be
dead wrong about
totally
this.
wrong. We could be totally right. At the end of the day, right, what's done is done. And all we could do now is continue to obviously support, cheer on, and hope that Backlund can continue to get to that point. Because if he's still getting us 35-ish points, I'm not really going to complain that much about it because he's
No.
essentially doing what he's been doing and he's staying fairly consistent, which even for someone like him, being that consistent, even at his age, is actually quite good considering. But I think it's more of just like you just hope that the fall is not going to be one of these just immediate drop off the table kind of things. Maybe it's a slower decline. Maybe that's what we're going to. But again, 2 years I still think is 1 year too many. So
again, though, like a lot of reaction came out of it on socials that they were so happy that their captain is back, which does tell you that everybody in the locker room respects the fact that he is captain, right? And I think being there for the last 17 years, I think till the end of his career, I think he does deserve to be captain. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely he does. And I think Uyghur's right there with the assistant captaincy. And I like the fact that Kadri has the assistant captaincy as well, too. I would just like it for the new regime to have a new face, and it needs to be Uyghur. And, maybe he doesn't finish his career in Calgary. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe things change, man. Things can change in a long time between now and 2 years from now. So, anyway, I know what people are feeling on socials too. I understand that, but I would have liked to see production this year, and we're going to see it.
Yep.
We're going to see all the production this year.
See.
So there you go. All right. That's it for us here. Split squad games were done yesterday. Congrats on Backlund getting the extension that he got. And we got some more training camp this week, couple more preseason games to go. And we'll wrap around next Monday for the review of all that, as we're going to start to see more and more guys getting cut from the roster, going back to junior, going back to the NCAA, which is going to be fascinating to watch this year. So good stuff as always, Neil. Sorry you weren't in Vegas today. That's shit.
Yeah, no, I'm not in Vegas. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. I'm not, but it's all good. It's all good.
Beauty.
Yeah. Just
awesome.
TSA can be trouble sometimes. Let's just put it that way.
Love TSA. All right. Sounds good. We'll wrap it up, and hope everybody has a good rest of the week. Good first week of fall coming up here. Enjoy some preseason hockey, and we'll chat next Monday, guys.
Let me go check out what this CFL announcment is now. I'm actually quite curious.
All right. Chat to you later, guys.